there are so many weapons coming with Renegades, many of which we have already covered, most notably our new arsenal called Heat Weapons. Now, if you haven't checked out that video, we'll have that one linked down below. Today, though, I actually wanted to focus on all the other weapons. These weapons, of course, are going to have a more traditional feel, and you may even see some returning ones in here as well. Now, quick disclaimer, much like our Heat Weapons video, we're also going to be doing a brief overview of the weapons themselves, along with their perks and our impressions of the weapons. But since this was a preview event, we of course didn't have time to look and test everything. So again, treat this as a little taste of what you can expect come Renegades. Everything that you're seeing as well was also an early build of the game, so of course it could be subject to change. So do keep that in mind. But let's kick this list off with a weapon that I know many of you are going to be interested in, and that is the new arc rocket assisted pulse rifle, Psi Aeterna IV. This one is going to be dropping from the portal, and it's essentially mint, but in arc form. Now, if anybody has played Destiny over the past 6 months, if there is one thing that you could say is true, is that this archetype is arguably the strongest archetype of weapon Bungie has ever given us. So much so that Mint Retrograde was equipped in the kinetic slot 45% of the time. Now, this has led to some nerfs, but get this, Bungie's actually being surgical. Instead of coming out and nerfing the damage, they're actually nerfing the ammo reserves, which yes, is still a nerf. But considering all the different ways we can build into ammo regeneration, I would much rather take this versus the alternative, which would have been a hefty damage nerf. The question is this arc variant going to be stronger than Mint? Let's talk perks here, guys. In our third column, we have Eddy Current, Beacon Rounds, Stats for All, Reverberation, Trickle Charge, and Blast Distributor. In the fourth column, we have Elemental Honing, Jolting Feedback, Rolling Storm, Collective Pugilism, One for All, and Adrenaline Junkie. Now, as for the origin traits, this can roll with things like Vanguard, Determination, and Wildcard. Now, if you played with Mint a bunch, the god roll for that weapon was really one of two combinations. Either rewind rounds with Elemental Honing, or rewind rounds with Bait and Switch. And I guess you can make an argument for One for All. But for the most part, most people stuck with either Bait and Switch or Elemental Honing. Now, for Psi here, Elemental Honing also exists, but we also have Jolting Feedback and Rolling Storm. Now, the reason why I bring up either of those perks is, number one, Jolting Feedback is really good for throwing in that extra bit of jolt damage. You could stun some champions. You tack on a little more damage. It's got the AoE effect. Then you got Rolling Storm, which I know is not necessarily a super popular perk, but if you remember farming for things like Cycle Pump, many of us went for Rolling Storm because Final Blows grants Bolt Charge. And then while we were amplifying, Final Blows grants additional Bolt Charge, with the enhanced version pushing that up even further. Essentially, more Bolt Charge kabloomies. On Psi Aeterna here, I only bring up Rolling Storm because Trickle Charge is in that third column. And this was a perk I really liked on our legendary sweep business that we're going to be talking about in more depth. This perk reads, receiving or discharging Bolt Charge partially loads the magazine from reserves. It's a very good perk, guys. So although rewind rounds is pretty brain dead, you literally just shoot the weapon, it reloads the weapon for you. It's fantastic on Mint. I think Trickle Charge is going to be able to compete against that. And you have the potential arc synergy there with Jolting Feedback and even Rolling Storm to contribute to those things. Trickle Charge is a very good perk, guys. Now, I mainly wanted to see how much Reverberation helped, as that's also present in that third column. It maxes out your blast radius. I wish I would have actually taken a moment to go test this individually just to see how much maxing out that blast radius helps Psi Aeterna here. Whatever the case, guys, this arc rocket assisted pulse rifle hit very hard. And I think it's going to be a great alternative for some people that are wanting to use something outside of Mint. And keep in mind, we're also getting the artifact mod Dielectric back. This is an artifact mod back in Heresy. We're defeating arc debuff targets, grants us Bolt Charge. Rapidly defeating arc debuff targets spawns an orb of power and heals a small portion of health. You also have things like elemental orbs that are arc in that fifth column, both of which are going to synergize with Psi Aeterna. All right, I've talked enough about this weapon. Let's move on to our 140 round per minute hand cannon, Corundum Hammer. Now, this sexy thing is the Trials hand cannon, and I played a decent amount with it, and it's pretty unique in the fact that it's the third ever Strand 140. Our only other options are Kept Confidence and Better Devils. One thing I really did like about this weapon, though, was its tier 5 shader/ornament. ornament. It's got like these gold accents, and then the majority of the weapon has an animated red shader. Now, in terms of perks, in our third column, we've got Fragile Focus, Slice, Firefly, Reconstruction, Slide Shot, Lone Wolf, and Shoot to Loot. In our fourth column, we have Precision Instruments, Tear, Sword Logic, Keep Away, Explosive Payload, Opening Shots, and Elemental Honing. Then our origin traits, which are very PvP focused, include Roar of Battle and Fleet-Footed. Now, looking at the weapon itself, it's got some pretty solid strand synergies. But then we also see that combination of Firefly and Tear. Now, if anybody has grinded comp in the past 6 months, Solemn Remembrance has a phenomenal combination, that being Headstone and Firefly. And the reason why it's so good is because you spawn in stasis crystals from landing the precision final blow, and then you have Firefly, which will do the AoE explosion that shatters those crystals. Now, Tear gives you a severing blast when you land precision final blows. Now, I didn't take this out to the testing range myself, but Cool Guy even brought up in his review that the blast from Firefly in combination with Tear spreads that severing blast further. Now, listen, Sever may not be that big of a deal to you, but keep in mind, it nerfs the hell out of your enemies. And so for things like day one content, contest mode, or hell, even things like -40, -50, Sever's really nice. Now, of course, you do have Slice, which is a more direct way of applying Sever, but again, I kind of just like the combination of Firefly and Tear together. You've also got things like Shoot to Loot for my PvE players. Hell, you can even do like a Shoot to Loot, Explosive Payload, or even Tear combo. Again, some pretty good PvE options. But for PvP, this is where things get strange, because you have perk combinations like Fragile Focus, which greatly boosts your range, and Keep Away, which also bumps your range up. And so you're in a situation here where you can greatly increase your range on this hand cannon, arguably maxing it out. Then you have great combinations like Slide Shot and Explosive Payload. Look no further than Rose. We love that combination. Lone Wolf is also present here as well, which I may even use Lone Wolf over Slide Shot and combine that with either Keep Away or Explosive Payload. Very strong perks here, guys. Now, next we have another addition to our spread shot hand cannons. This one being called Sarpedon-D. It's an arc spread shot hand cannon, and it will be dropping from the Pinnacle Ops activities. Now, we currently only have 2 of these in the game, Phonutria Fera, which is a solar one, and Aris Neutralizer, which is our kinetic one from Trials. Now, let me just say, guys, this archetype of hand cannon, for a while there, was crippling Destiny PvP. Now, Bungie has pulled it back a number of times, but that's not to say they're not still very, very good. In our third column, though, we have Lead from Light, Impromptu Ammunition, Eddy Current, Proximity Power, Trickle Charge, and To the Pain. In our fourth column, we have 1-2 Punch, Collective Pugilism, Rolling Storm, Trench Barrel, Volt Shot, and Desperate Measures. Now, for our origin traits, we've got Problem Solver, Vanguard Determination, and Hockey Breach Armaments. Now, some pretty good combinations, especially for Arc, whether that be Trickle Charge and Rolling Storm together. Now, you can even still rock 1-2 Punch, but do keep in mind, guys, it's not as amped as a special weapon with 1-2 Punch. This is a more toned down, nerfed version of 1-2. You've got Volt Shot, which has great synergy there with either Eddy Current or Trickle Charge. For PvP, you've got To the Pain, and some folks really like Trench Barrel on this archetype. So again, some pretty solid combos present on this one. Now, our next weapon is this Stasis Aggressive Frame Fusion Rifle, Nox Sidereal IV. Now, I say interesting as this is an aggressive frame fusion, which for those of you that don't know, is the archetype of fusion that shoots the horizontal volley of projectiles. Think things like Delicate Tomb, or our other legendaries, like the elusive Criorsis FR4, or hell, even the OG Coriolis Force. Now, let me just say, at one time, these were considered like the worst fusion rifle in all the game. But they picked up in popularity since Bungie has done some reworks. They've even added a new edition from the Desert Perpetual Raid, Finite Maybe, and they're pretty good. These all shoot that horizontal volley, and they put out a pretty decent amount of damage. Now, for Nox here, it can roll in that third column, Clown Cartridge, Ambitious Assassin, Demolitionist, Proximity Power, Shot Swap, Stats for All, and then in our fourth column, we have Master of Arms, Reservoir Burst, Adrenaline Junkie, Frenzy, Crystalline, Corpse Bloom, and Discord. As for the origin traits, we have Vanguard Determination and Wildcard. Now, for those that have not used the trait Crystalline Corpse Bloom, again, Rapid Final Blows spawns in a stasis crystal near the victim's location. You've also got the classic Reservoir Burst, which greatly amplifies your damage for that first shot. But again, you can overload or overflow your magazine with things like Clown Cartridge cartridge or ambitious assassin, which allows you to take advantage of reservoir bursts over a number of shots. And that's probably the route that I'm going to go with this one, guys. Just go with a classic fusion rifle combo. Now, in the same vein as Nox Sidereal, we also have another fusion rifle to chase, and that's Minota 44. Now, this is a seasonal weapon, and it's a void high-impact frame fusion rifle. In our third column, we have Discord, Repulsor Brace, Corner, Lone Wolf, Subsistence, Attrition Orbs, and Inline Action. In our fourth column, we have Frenzy, Destabilizing Rounds, Controlled Bursts, Successful Warm-Up, Withering Gaze, Closing Time, and Surrounded, with our origin traits being Suro Synergy. Now, I know I didn't really talk about Nox Sidereal inside of PvP, and that's just because that fusion rifle archetype is just not good there. But high impacts are pretty solid. They're almost a guaranteed kill if you have enough time to charge the weapon. For Minota, though, I'm probably going to go with like a Closing Time Lone Wolf combo for PvP, or if I'm trying to run around and farm with just my special weapon, even a Closing Time Discord option would be pretty good. For PvE, though, Repulsor Brace, Destabilizing Rounds, that's a solid combo. I know we brought up Discord inside of PvP, but inside of PvE, it's phenomenal as it allows you to consistently blow your load without wasting ammo. Now, this takes us to another unique weapon that's going to be dropping for us in Renegades, and that's Evening S14. This is a solar adaptive burst sidearm that's going to be dropping from the base portal loot pool. Now, these weapons only come around every once in a while, with the most recent addition being the reissued Peace Bond Stasis sidearm from Iron Banner or Sanuna S16, which dropped all the way back in Season 20. With this being solar as well, it means it's going to have a ton of great synergy. In our third column, we have Lone Wolf, Offhand Strike, Subsistence, Proximity Power, Heal Clip, and Impromptu Ammunition. In our fourth column, we have Collective Pugilism, Burning Ambition, Incandescent, Sword Logic, Headseeker, and Desperate Measures, with our origin traits being Vanguard Determination and Amalon Fluid Dynamics. Now, for PvP, guys, without a doubt, that Lone Wolf Headseeker combo is going to be disgusting. If you want to mix it up, throw in Sword Logic, you could do so. For PvE, though, Heal Clip all day long with probably Incandescent. If not that, maybe Burning Ambition. And I actually need to just sit down and see what the Scorch Stack application is here on this particular archetype. Now, our next weapon to go over is this kinetic aggressive frame sniper rifle called Something Something, which is included in the base portal loot pool. No, I didn't just make that name up. It's literally called Something Something. Now, in terms of comparisons, think of this as like the Succession sniper from Deep Stone Crypt. In its third column, it has No Distractions, Triple Tap, Snapshot, Bewildering Bursts, Stopping Power, and Discord. In our fourth column, we have Elemental Honing, Adhesive Ordnance, Box Breathing, Kinetic Tremors, and Redirection, along with All-Star. And it has an origin trait, Vanguard Determination. Now, this sniper has a lot of our new kinetic weapon perks on it. For this particular season, all the different artifact mods that synergize with kinetic weapons, this one I think is going to be a great option. Now, if you haven't watched our overview for the heat weapons, you may have missed us talking about Adhesive Ordnance. Again, this perk reads that collecting ammo loads an explosive round that adheres to surfaces. It also has an improved detonation shortly after impact and applies exhaust. You've got Stopping Power, which reads that this weapon's kinetic ordnance can more easily stagger combatants and grants increased target acquisition and damage against low health targets within an improved range. And All-Star, which states that collecting ammo loads this weapon from reserves and enhances its damage and reload speed for a short duration. So some pretty good perks that are found here, guys. Whether you're going the route of like Bewildering Bursts with Kinetic Tremors, or you're leaning into like All-Star with Stopping Power, there's some great combinations that exist here that again is going to lean into those artifact mods. From Kinetic Synthesis, which is literally going to allow us to generate unique ammo bricks that will not only grant us ammo to our equipped kinetic weapons, but also grant special and heavy ammo progress. You got Sniper's Meditation, which is just going to give us a damage buff. You've got Kinetic Rupture, where kinetic weapon damage against powerful commands creates a kinetic rupture, and targeting that rupture causes damaging explosions that staggers combatants. So needless to say, guys, there is definitely a reason to be leaning into kinetic this season. And this weapon has a lot of great combinations to lean into. May not be your favorite archetype, which I completely get. When it comes to PvE, I like rapid fires. Not really a big fan of aggressives, but maybe we can make this work. Now, this takes us to the heavy crossbow, which Bungie is giving us another addition to inside of Renegades. This being our first void version called A Good Shout. It drops from Pinnacle Ops activities. And one thing to note about crossbows that's really good is not only do they do solid damage, but they're great as you can conserve the ammo as long as you go and pick it up. Now, for good shouts, we've got some pretty nice perk combinations. In third column, we have Bolt Scavenger, Built to Blast, Withering Gaze, Repulsor brace, envious arsenal, and no distractions. In our fourth column, we have butterfly, box breathing, high ground, destabilizing rounds, rampage, and demoralize, with the origin traits being problem solver and vanguard determination. Now, if some of these perks are new, they're really not. For instance, built to blast gives us aim assist, stability, and flinch resist, while we have woven mail, frost armor, or void overshield, which let me just say with the new exotic for hunters might be really good. Not necessarily for this weapon, but you can imagine this on Lance Ephemeral, which is the Desert Perpetual Sniper Rifle. There is a play here. But then we have Butterfly. This is a perk we talked about on our heat weapons, guys, and it reads that aiming this weapon for a short period without firing causes your target to explode the next time you deal final blows. The timer resets when you stop aiming down sights, with the enhanced version reducing the time for perk activation. Now, we talked about this in our heat weapon review breakdown, but getting a kill would then set off an explosion, which at max, I was getting around 630 damage against this red bar enemy. I did check though to see if there was any sort of subclass synergy with this, and for the perk itself, it didn't seem like I was spreading anything like volatile or weakened, but still good damage nonetheless. There's a lot of combos here, guys, that we can roll with, from Withering Gaze, Butterfly, hell, you can even throw box breathing in there, maybe a little bit of destabilizing rounds. You've also got Demoralize, and the reason why I'm bringing up these perks that apply weaken is because, again, in our artifact mods, we've got things like Power from the Pain, where rapid final blows against weakening combatants grants us Devour. You've got Void Infestation, where defeating a weakened target spawns a tracking projectile that weakens other targets. This is fantastic Void synergy that a good shout here will easily take advantage of. Now up next is another juicy one that I spent a lot of time with, and that is a new addition to our area denial frame grenade launchers, that being Motif 41. Now, not only is this an area denial frame, which has pretty much overshadowed Waveframe GLs, but this is our first solar version, and the perks don't disappoint, guys. In our third column, we have Impulse Amplifier, Heal Clip, Loose Change, Auto Loading Holster, Threat Detector, Stats for All, and Wellspring. In our fourth column, we have Master of Arms, Incandescence, Binary Orbit, Reverberation, Attrition Orbs, Demolitionist, and Vorpal, with our origin trait being Surus Synergy. Now, if you got things like Attrition Orbs here, you also have your Incandescent Heal Clip combo. If you want to run and gun and just not think about things, Auto Loading Holster also exists here, and you can crank up the damage with Master of Arms. I had a lot of fun using this one though, guys. I was just running around getting kills with it, spreading as much Scorch as I could, and combining this with my solar build here to crank that even further. There's a reason why we use this archetype, guys. It's just that good. Now up next, we have a brand new archetype that's being introduced in Renegades, and this one was really interesting. It's an aggressive burst SMG called the Peculiar Charm. It's a 600 round per minute kinetic aggressive burst, and it will be dropping from the competitive playlists. Now, the frame is described as hard-hitting 4-burst fire, which is not the first time we have seen 4-burst pulse rifles. Look no further than things like Blast Furnace, which falls into that aggressive burst archetype. But we've never seen this on an SMG. And again, Bungie's really blending archetypes here. And it's almost like they're trying to turn this SMG into a mid-range weapon, which kind of goes against what an SMG is supposed to be. Trait-wise, though, in our third column, we have Stopping Power, Shoot to Loot, Lone Wolf, Rangefinder, which by the way is getting a buff, Attrition Orbs, Rapid Hit, and Impromptu Ammunition. In our fourth column, we have Firefly, Headseeker, All-Star, Kinetic Tremors, Master of Arms, Desperado, and Bewildering Bursts. Now, another interesting trait about the weapon is that it does not come with an origin trait, but instead it comes with stocks. So pretty much like Rose. Now, I spent some time with this one, guys, and it's got some solid combos. I'm going to try out Rangefinder after its buff with a number of combinations, whether that be Headseeker, Kinetic Tremors, hell, even Master of Arms, or even Desperado. For PvE, though, from Shoot to Loot to Attrition Orbs to Rapid Hit even, in combination with everything we just mentioned a second ago, including the likes of Bewildering Bursts and even All-Star. And hell, you can even do an All-Star combination with Impromptu Ammunition, which directly feed into each other, increasing your ammo meter, dropping more ammo bricks, and increasing your damage when you collect that ammo while simultaneously auto-loading your weapon. I think a lot of thought was put into this archetype, guys, and I'm really curious to see how this sits in the sandbox come Renegades. Now, our next weapon is a heavy weapon, and that's the Seasonal Strand Vortex Frame, called 86. This is the second strand Vortex frame in the game, with the other one being the Precipice from Season the Deep. In our third column, we have Slice, Tireless Blade, Lead from Light, Flash Cannon, Relentless Strikes, Sharp Harvest, and Duelist Trance. In our fourth column, we have Elemental Honing, Redirection, Binary Orbit, Hatchling, Attrition Orbs, Chain Reaction, and Unguard. And its origin trait surprisingly comes with Bray Legacy. Now look, it's got some pretty good combos, but let's be real. We're using the lightsaber. All right, fellas, I am going to put on Praxic Blade, and I am rocking another sword. Now this takes us to a new Void 450 round per minute lightweight pulse called the Martlet. This weapon drops from Trials, and let me just say, guys, it's been a hot minute since anyone even considered a lightweight pulse. What even makes this more unique, though, is we actually don't have a new Void lightweight and haven't had one added to the game since Agorona PR2, which is a pulse rifle that dropped from all the way back in Season 4. Now, in our third column, we have Repulsor Brace, Headseeker, Firefly, Lone Wolf, Perpetual Motion, Keep Away, and Loose Change. In our fourth column, we have Desperado, Zim Moments, Destabilizing Rounds, Sword Logic, Desperate Measures, Withering Gaze, and Kill Clip. Now, as for our origin traits, we have the Roar of Battle and Fleet Footed. Now, looking at the combos here, guys, you have your typical ones that are always good on Void weapons, whether they be Destabilizing Rounds or Repulsor Brace. Hell, you can even do Firefly and Destabilizing Rounds together, which is pretty interesting. Then for PvP, though, notice that Headseeker is in the third column, which opens things up because normally it's in the fourth. And that means you could double up here. You could do Headseeker and Kill Clip. And if the base weapon itself feels good enough, you may be able to get away with that roll. Now, if you can't, and we need perks like Keep Away and Zim Moment and all the other perks that can make the weapon feel better to shoot, then GG's to that Headseeker Kill Clip combo. But that's definitely a combo I want to try. Now, another Void weapon being added in Renegades is Mos Athanor IV. This is a Void 120 round per minute aggressive frame hand cannon dropping from the Crucible. In our third column, it can roll with things like Moving Targets, Destabilizing Rounds, Slide Waste, Lone Wolf, Keep Away, and Built to Blast. In our fourth column, it has Precision Instruments, Eye of the Storm, Adagio, Demoralize, Sword Logic, and Opening Shots, with Roar of the Battle and Wild Card as its origin traits. Now, let me just say, guys, PvP-wise, it's got it, man. From Precision Instrument to combos like Slideways or even Lone Wolf. Keep Away is also present here. Hell, Eye of the Storm is pretty nice. Adagio is also good here for 2 taps. PvE, though, I'm going to be honest, I don't really like 120s in PvE. And it's got some pretty good combos for PvE, but never really been the archetype that I like for PvE. Now, our next weapon is Qua Vinctus IV. This is a Strand high-impact machine gun dropping from the Crucible. Now, if you've watched our Service of Luzaku video, you'll know that even without getting into the perks, this machine gun has some stiff competition. But for those of you that don't want to rock an exotic heavy, then this is going to be a pretty good option. In our third column, we have Slice, Triple Tap, Demolitionist, Built to Blast, Hatchling, and Transcendent Moments. In our fourth column, we have Lone Wolf, Tear, Kill and Tally, Rewind Rounds, Strategist, and Mega Neuro. Yes, Mega Neuro here has made a return, with their origin traits being the Roar of Battle and Wildcard. Again, you can do a lot of things here, guys. Hatchling, amping it up with even damage perks. I will say, though, it's funny Bungie gave us this triple tap rewind round combo. Talk about blow thy load. Now, these are all the new weapons. However, there are also 7 reissued weapons that are returning to us with new perks in Renegades. Now, since these aren't brand new weapons, I'm just going to give you a list of the weapons that are returning. I will show you the roles for each one of these. And again, we have an Excel spreadsheet breaking down the roles for all of these weapons. But we've got some old classics. For instance, Duty Bound, our adaptive frame auto rifle from way back when, is making a return to us with some pretty interesting traits. The Immortal, which is a Strand 720 round per minute aggressive frame SMG, which was feeling great to use, at least from what Pure Chill was telling me, who was sitting right next to me at Bungie. My man was farming with the Immortal. And this one's going to be dropping from Trials of Osiris, along with Astral Horizon, our OG kinetic aggressive frame shotgun. Now, another fan favorite weapon that's making a return is Riptide. That's right, guys. Our stasis rapid fire fusion rifle that was so strong, it literally got chill clipped nerfed, if you remember that. Now, this one's going to be dropping from the Crucible. And then we also have Cataphract, which is a Strand adaptive frame heavy grenade launcher, which at one time was literally the meta. It's going to be making a return into the Trials loot pool as well. Now, a weapon I was extremely surprised to see make a return is Horus Lease, one of the original top dogs inside of PvP. This Arc 540 round per minute rapid fire pulse that used to drop from the Corrupted Nightfall back in the day is now made a return to us and will be dropping from the Pinnacle Ops loot pool. And it's got a unique gun model as well as a unique reticle. We also have Hawthorne's Field Forge shotgun that's going to be back as well, but this time it's going to be a stasis weapon rather than a kinetic weapon, which is pretty interesting. And last but certainly not least, we have a weapon from way back in Season 6 making a return, that being the OG Oxygen SR3. This is a solar 180 round per minute precision frame scout rifle that we have not seen in a very long time. And with Mega Neuro being added back into the game, it really is only right to bring Oxygen SR3 back as well. Again, this video is already incredibly long, and I'm sure you're like, holy hell, we really have this many weapons coming to us in Renegades? Yes, it is a lot of guns. Believe me, I'm going to talk traits for all of these, but we will be individually reviewing many of these going into Renegades. I would say my biggest concern right now is how long is it going to take for me to fill up my vault again, despite us getting 300 more spots, considering the sheer amount of weapons Bungie is about to unload on us. So guys, let me know in the comments below which one of these you're looking most forward to. Again, we have our Renegades playlist listed down below if you want to check out any of the reviews for the exotics or even the heat weapons themselves. And yes, some of these we're going to single out and even review now, as I did spend a bit more time with a few of these during our playtests. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.